This is not where the financial heart of the world beats. This is the bunker where the system retreats when its heart is about to stop. For decades, you have been the target of a sophisticated psychological operation. The suited analysts on cable financial news, the tenured economics professors at elite universities, even the central bank governors themselves, they all sang from the same hymn sheet. They looked you in the eye and told you gold was a barbarous relic, an outdated rock, a primitive superstition with no place in a modern, sophisticated digital economy. They mocked the very idea of it. They told you to trust the paper, trust the digital digits on a screen, trust the system, trust them. If gold is a barbarous relic, a meaningless pet rock, then why are the masters of the universe in the middle of the greatest, most secretive gold-buying panic in modern history? The data, buried deep in technical reports and IMF filings, does not lie. Over the last few years, central banks, the very institutions vested with the godlike power to print infinite amounts of currency, have been ravenously consuming physical gold at a pace not seen since the height of the Cold War in the 1960s. We are talking about hundreds and hundreds of tons vanished from the open market, sequestered into deep storage vaults. And this is not isolated to the usual suspects like China or Russia preparing for war. This panic is global. From the highly developed financial hubs of Singapore to the emerging powerhouses of India, from the plains of Poland to the deserts of the Middle East, the central bankers of the world are united in a single, frantic action. Get the gold. You must ask yourself the fundamental question that mainstream media refuses to ask. Why are the people who can create money out of thin air with a keystroke so unbelievably desperate to acquire a heavy metal dug laboriously out of the ground? Why would they trade their sophisticated dollars and euros for a barbarous relic? The answer lies in the darkest secret of the modern financial system. They know something you are not supposed to know. They are preparing for an event they know is inevitable. They are building an ark, and they are not selling tickets to the public. To understand this panic, we must understand the trap they have built for themselves. This story, like so many roads to ruin, began in earnest in 1971. That was the year the golden anchor was cut away. The US dollar ceased to be redeemable for gold, and the age of pure fiat currency began globally. Paper backed by nothing but faith and credit and politicians' promises. At first it seemed like liberation. It gave governments and central banks unlimited power. The power to spend without limit, to borrow without immediate consequence, to finance endless wars without raising taxes, and to build massive welfare states on credit. They created a world awash in cheap debt, creating the illusion of prosperity. But this power came with a terrible hidden price tag. They believed they had conquered economics. They believed they could print their way out of any crisis, but they only succeeded in kicking the can down the road, making the eventual reckoning exponentially larger. Math has finally come to collect. What we are living through right now is the terminal phase of a 50-year debt supercycle. Global debt has surpassed $300 trillion. The numbers have become so large they are meaningless to the average person, but to a central banker, those numbers are a death sentence for the current system. Let's be fiercely honest, this debt can never be repaid in constant dollars. It is a mathematical impossibility. There are only two ways out of a debt burden this massive: default, which means total, systemic collapse, or inflation, which means printing money to pay off old debts with devalued currency. Central bankers are not stupid people. They see the monster they created tearing at its leash. They know that with every trillion they printed to bail out banks or fund government spending, they destroyed a little more of the paper currency's soul. They know the purchasing power of your salary is melting away, not because of supply chains or corporate greed, but because they are debasing the unit of account. Here is the secret they will never say at a press conference. Central banks are not investing in gold to make a profit. They are fleeing into gold to survive. They are running away from the very paper currencies they issue because they know exactly what they have done to destroy their future value. This massive accumulation of gold is not a portfolio diversification strategy. It is a confession. It is them admitting, behind closed doors in Basel and Davos, that the fiat experiment is failing. They know that when the music stops, the only thing that will have value is the asset they cannot print. But the rabbit hole goes deeper. It is not just about inflation or domestic debt. It is about a complete fracture in global geopolitics. It is about the death of trust among thieves. The entire global financial system built after World War II is a delicate chain of trust. You trust your commercial bank. Your bank trusts the central bank. And, crucially, sovereign nations trust each other to honor their debts. In 2022, that chain was violently shattered. When Western powers froze over $300 billion of Russian central bank reserves overnight as part of sanctions, a shockwave went through the global financial nervous system. Forget the morality of the war for a moment and look at the financial implications. The West sent a clear, unmistakable message to the entire world. If you do not obey our geopolitical line, your national savings, if kept in dollars or euros or British pounds, are no longer yours. We can turn your money off with a switch. In that moment, the global South woke up. China, India, Saudi Arabia, Brazil, they all realized the terrifying vulnerability of holding their national wealth in the debt paper of nations that might one day become their adversaries. If Washington can seize Russia's money, they can seize China's. They can seize Saudi Arabia's. This weaponization of the finance system was the catalyst for the current gold rush. If you hold your national savings in another country's treasury bonds, you do not own an asset, you own a promise, you own a liability of a foreign government, and the promises of Washington and Brussels are no longer considered good enough collateral for the rest of the world. This is the primary driver of the East's voracious appetite for bullion. Gold is the only financial asset that is not someone else's liability. It has zero counterparty risk. A dollar is a debt owed by the United States Treasury. A euro is a debt owed by the European Central Bank. If those institutions fail or refuse to pay, the paper is worthless. But a bar of physical gold is nobody's debt. It simply is. It exists outside the financial system. It requires no one's signature, no one's permission, no internet connection, and relies on no one's political system to have value. It is the only truly neutral collateral in a divided world. Central banks are hoarding gold because trust has evaporated. They no longer trust each other's paper, and when honor among nations breaks down, everyone wants to make sure they are holding the only asset that doesn't rely on a handshake. Consider this. Just a few years ago, under the obscure banking regulations known as Basel III, the International Settlements Bank quietly reclassified physical gold. They moved it from a Tier 3 asset, risky, speculative, up to a Tier 1 asset. They legally made gold the equivalent of cash for banking capital reserves. They didn't announce this on the evening news. They just quietly changed the rules of the game for themselves. Why would they make gold a Tier 1 asset if it was a barbarous relic? Because they knew they would need it to recapitalize their own insolvent systems when the debt bubble bursts. So, what are they preparing for? What is the final act of this tragedy? They are preparing for the great monetary reset. They know the current dollar-based, debt-saturated system is entering its terminal phase. It cannot be saved. It must be replaced. History teaches us one undeniable lesson. When a monetary system collapses and confidence evaporates, the architects of the new system must come to the negotiating table with real collateral to restore confidence. You cannot replace failing paper with more paper. When trust hits zero, only gold speaks. The nations that hold the most gold when the music stops will have the most seats at the table when the new rules of global finance are written. This frantic accumulation is nothing short of a monetary arms race for the post-dollar world. China knows this. Russia knows this. Europe knows this. But that is not even the most terrifying part for you, the individual citizen. The most terrifying part is the bifurcation of the future, the split between what they are preparing for themselves and what they are preparing for you. While they secure their own institutional existence with physical, seize-proof, anonymous, historically proven gold, what is the new system they are building for the masses? Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. The plan is becoming horrifyingly clear to anyone paying attention. There will be a two-tiered monetary system. Tier 1 is for nations and central banks. Their transactions and balance sheets will be settled in gold, the ultimate freedom asset, ensuring their sovereignty and independence. Tier 2 is for you. You will be herded into a new system of collapsing fiat currency replaced by fully programmable, traceable, and controllable digital tokens issued directly by the central bank. They will have gold. You will have Fedcoin or digital euro. Understand the difference. Gold is freedom. It is private. You can hold it, hide it, move it, and trade it without anyone's permission. A CBDC is a digital prison panopticon. They are not building CBDCs for your convenience. They are building them for control. Unlike cash or gold, a CBDC is programmable. This means the central bank can dictate how, when, and where you spend your money. Imagine a world where your money has an expiration date to force you to spend during a recession. Imagine negative interest rates, where your balance automatically shrinks every month to punish saving. Imagine your ability to purchase meat, or gasoline, or travel tickets being automatically restricted because you have exceeded your carbon allowance for the month. Imagine your assets being instantly frozen because you donated to the wrong political protest or posted the wrong opinion online. This is not science fiction. The technology is being piloted right now by the very same central banks that are frantically buying gold for themselves. Do you see the ultimate hypocrisy? They are building a golden lifeboat to ensure their own freedom and power survive the coming crash. Simultaneously, they are constructing a digital dragnet to ensure you cannot escape the consequences of their failures. Gold secures their sovereignty. CBDCs ensure your servitude. The greatest wealth transfer and the greatest deception in human history is happening right in front of your eyes, hidden in plain sight by boring financial reports. They go on television and gaslight you. They tell you gold is risky, volatile, and old-fashioned, yet they are buying more of it than at any time in the last 50 years. They tell you inflation is temporary, or that it's good for you. Yet, they are preparing their own balance sheets for a permanent devaluation of all paper currency. They tell you digital currency is inevitable progress, all about speed and inclusion. Yet, they design it as the ultimate mechanism of totalitarian control, while they themselves retreat to the privacy of physical bullion. The chasm between their public words and their private actions is where the terrifying truth lies. Watch what they do, not what they say. The masters of the financial universe know a storm is coming, a hurricane of debt, devaluation, and geopolitical chaos that they created. And right now they are boarding up their windows, locking their doors, and filling their deepest vaults with the only asset that survives every storm. The question you must answer before the crisis arrives on your doorstep is this: as they prepare their own lifeboats, will you remain on the deck of the Titanic, clutching paper money and believing their lies as the ship goes down? Or will you do what the masters of the world are doing, ignoring their words, mimicking their actions, and securing a position outside of their collapsing system before the gates are closed forever? The system is changing. The reset is coming. If you do not hold what real money is, you will be swept away by what replaces it.